In a Stormtrack Weather Alert tonight, right now, many counties in mid-Missouri are under a severe thunderstorm watch.
That watch lasts until 10 o'clock tonight. We're expecting this storm to hit Columbia in just about an hour. Here you can see on the radar, it's now making its way into the Lake of the Ozarks area.
Let's get right to ABC 17 Stormtrack Chief Meteorologist Sharon Ray, who's tracking these storms in the southern and western parts of the viewing area. Sharon. Thank you, Sharon. With severe weather season here in mid-Missouri, we're checking in on community and personal storm shelters in the area.
ABC 17's Lindsay Burning talked to emergency management officials in Boone County and Cole County today. She joins us now live, and Lindsay, Boone County EMA says there are no official community shelters in the county.
Yes, Dana, there are no FEMA-approved community storm shelters in all of Boone County. And Josh Creamer, the deputy director of the Columbia-Boone County Office of Emergency Management, tells me that's because of a lack of funding.
FEMA has very specific specifications on what would be considered a community safe room, and in order to meet those standards, it's fairly expensive.
Creamer says since there are no official community shelters, Boone County residents should have a plan of where to go before a tornado comes. That could mean a nearby open business with a stairwell, for example. But many people choose to stay at home in a basement or inner room. Because of this, last year the city of Ashland started a storm shelter registry to let first responders know where residents would be located in the event of a tornado. Creamer says it's the only registry in all of Boone County.
Part of that situation assessment would be talking to a lot of the homeowners and the residents in the area. Many of them may be aware of where their neighbors were.
Creamer says if a tornado goes through the county, emergency crews will go to areas that have the highest risk of people who may be trapped.
There currently isn't a database that's on a county-wide scale. We would encourage those individuals to let other members in the community, particularly their neighbors, know where they would be in the event of a tornado, or some of their family members know.
Creamer says aside from storm shelter registries, there are other resources emergency responders can use to identify where people may be after a natural disaster. But he says this goes back to the lack of funding. The Emergency Management Office of Osage County has a smart prepare system that can pull information from the 911 system with people's medical information and more. Boone County EMA says it will be looking into notification systems like these and others over the next year to add to its resources. I also talked to the Cole County Emergency Management Director, who tells me there are 25 Red Cross approved storm shelters across the county, and those are usually like big churches that have kitchens and shower facilities within them, but they're all run by the Red Cross. And he tells me they also don't have a personal storm shelter registry, and he says the biggest problem with that is the having a man to keep it updated and just keeping it updated. Reporting live in Columbia, Lindsay Burning, ABC 17 News.
Thank you, Lindsay. The city of Joplin has also recently created a storm shelter registry. This comes after the 2011 tornado. It took responders 2 days to rescue everyone then. That's why the city of Ashland decided to adopt a registry as well.
A Columbia man is arrested after taking the Missouri State Highway Patrol on a chase. Troopers tell us they tried to stop a car around 10 this morning after it failed to yield near Mexico Gravel Road and Woodard Drive. The driver drove off, taking them on a short chase before getting out of the car and then running. Troopers caught up to him and arrested him. A woman who was a passenger in the car also ran off but was later found. Tonight, a Columbia woman could be facing charges after police say she left the scene of an accident. Officers arrested Crystal Scott yesterday for the accident that happened back in January. Investigators say Scott hit a car near West Boulevard and Ash Street and then took off. A witness followed her, getting her license plate number and then turning it over to police. She has since bonded out of jail. Tonight, a new prosecutor is looking into whether or not charges should be filed against a trooper after a man in his custody drowns.
20-year-old Brandon Elligson drowned while in handcuffs at the Lake of the Ozarks. He was pulled over on suspicion of drinking while boating by Trooper Anthony Piercy.
ABC 17's Heather Horgan has followed every step of this case, detailing what Piercy reportedly did wrong that day and why he wasn't trained properly to be on the water. The first special prosecutor told you yesterday that the case has been officially handed over?
Yes, Amanda Grellner, who is the prosecutor in Osage County, appointed to be the prosecutor in this case, says she has handed all of her files over. And to who we still do not know tonight. She said it was a him but could not give me the name of the new prosecutor. I called the Morgan County clerk, who tells me she does not have any paperwork on who the new prosecutor is, other than there was a motion to appoint one. She tells me I most likely would not be able to know who it is until charges are filed. But with this case, the big question is, will charges be filed? Will Trooper Piercy be held responsible for the drowning of Brandon Ellingson, or was it just an accident like the jury at the coroner's inquest ruled last year? Ellingson's family says it was negligence. I talked with the Ellingson's lawyer today, who tells me he does not know who the new prosecutor is either. So while there are still a lot of questions tonight surrounding this case, we do know new eyes are going over Amanda Grellner's file on this. Again, Grellner earlier this month announced she was stepping down because of a conflict of interest. We will, of course, continue to follow any developments in this case and let you know when we have the prosecutor's name.
Thank you very much, Heather. Morgan County Prosecutor Dustin Dunkley was unable to take on the case because of his conflict of interest. Today, he too says he does not know who the new prosecutor is.
Tonight, Attorney General Chris Koster's gubernatorial campaign office is responding to a newly released state auditor's report. The report says Koster's campaign has been accepting gifts from donors who are actively being investigated by the Attorney General's office. It's being called a conflict of interest. ABC 17's Dan Messinio has been digging through the report. He's joining us live in our newsroom now. And Dan, Koster's campaign says it's not a conflict of interest.
Yeah, Daniel, Koster's gubernatorial campaign disputes the report. In a statement, it says the audit doesn't accurately reflect the conflict of interest policy. It says the campaign has implemented a strict policy of its own for donors.
State Auditor's Office says its report of Attorney General Chris Koster's office raises a few issues. Deputy Auditor Harry Otto says one that's of most concern, the way the office handles Koster's gubernatorial campaign contributions.
We feel like the process whereby the campaign monitors by self-reporting, the donor reports whether or not there is a conflict. We don't think that's going to work.
The audit report released this morning states Attorney General Koster's campaign is accepting contributions from donors who are actively being investigated by the Attorney General's office. The audit report calls it a conflict of interest. In an audit response, Koster's office says there is no conflict of interest. It says litigation attorneys have no contact with Koster's political organization. In a statement, Koster's political campaign says the Missourians for Koster Committee has implemented the most stringent conflict of interest policy of any attorney general in the nation. Despite the response, the auditor's report gave the Attorney General's office a fair rating, the second lowest out of 4 possible ratings.
The importance of that, of those contributions and the perception that the public can have about that probably weighed heavily into the finding of the rating of a fair versus a good.
Otto also tells me the audit found that Koster's office gave what they call excessive salary increases to its employees. The AG's office says in an effort to improve recruitment, the office cut its staff and funneled those funds to extra positions. Reporting live in the newsroom, Dan Messinio, ABC 17 News.
Thank you, Dan. This auditor's office says this was a routine audit of the Attorney General's office. All statewide elected officials will be audited at least once during their term.
Just ahead on ABC 17 News at 5, where the news comes first.
Tonight, French authorities are calling off the search at the site of this morning's Airbus crash. Hear why.
And President Obama says more troops are staying in Afghanistan than originally planned. We have those details next.
Right now, we are still under a severe thunderstorm watch as rain starts to move in some areas.
We'll check back in with ABC 17 Stormtrack Chief Meteorologist Sharon Ray, who continues to track these storms. Sharon. French authorities have since called off the search at the crash site of the Germanwings airliner that went down this morning in the French Alps.
The airliner crashed there with 150 people aboard. All are presumed dead. Rescue officials say the conditions in the Alps have become too difficult to search. The Airbus was traveling from Barcelona to Dusseldorf, Germany, when it went down.
I've decided that we will maintain our current posture of 9,800 troops through the end of this year.
Looking at news around America tonight, the White House says nearly 9,000 troops will stay in Afghanistan through the end of 2015. That's different from the original plan to cut that number in half. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani asked the president to slow the withdrawal of U.S. troops in his country.
And Sharon continues to track the storms moving through mid-Missouri next.
In a recall alert tonight, Amy's Kitchen is recalling its frozen meals for a deadly bacteria.
The company says 74,000 cases of its frozen foods that include spinach may be contaminated with listeria. The meals to look out for include vegetarian lasagna, tofu scrambles, spinach pizza, enchiladas, brown rice bowls, and stuffed pasta shells. So far, no illnesses have been reported.
General Motors also has a recall to announce. The car maker says 92,000 Chevrolet Malibu midsize sedans have an issue with their sunroof controls. Cars made between 2013 and 2015 model years are all affected. GM says the sunroofs can close on their own. This is the same problem affecting nearly 70,000 Cadillac ATS sedans.
And Sharon continues to track the storms when we come back.
Of that, and as they continue to move northeast, we'll be tracking them through the evening. We'll continue to watch these, and I'll be back on ABC 17 News at 6 with more weather updates.